Hi there, my name's Teresa and this is my channel, Homestead Life. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making some homemade fried potatoes. I use these in some of the breakfast burritos that I make, and sometimes I make this just to go along with, a breakfast as a side dish, or sometimes with dinner. So I'm going to start off by I've got 5 pounds of potatoes here that I've already peeled, and I'm going to go ahead and slice these up into little kind of bite-sized pieces. I don't want them to be too big, but I like to have them kind of smaller here. And these are about the right size. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these all diced up. I'm gonna be making some breakfast burritos today so that I can have those for my husband to enjoy while I am out of town for a couple of days. And he loves breakfast burritos because those are so self-sufficient for him. He can just microwave those up really quick. And this time I'm making it with potatoes in there. Sometimes I'll make it with different things, but potatoes just sounded good and I had some extras. So let's make use of them. And again, I'm going to try to keep them in uniform pieces. The nice thing is, if there's too many of these for the burritos, I'm just going to serve it with dinner tonight. And it is early evening, late afternoon, early evening right now. So they will be good to serve with dinner. Okay, 2 more potatoes to go. I wanted to get these potatoes used up before I went out of town, otherwise I don't think they would be any good when I got back. Had them for a little while. And I just don't like them to go to waste. Now I'm going to start putting them back into my pan here, or my pan. Putting them into Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead, I can't find my little scoop, but I'm going to put these all into our bowl. Just so that we can make it over to the stove top here in just a second. A nice big bowl full of potatoes. Okay, so let's take these and head on over to the stove. Over here on the cooktop, we're going to go ahead and start our cast iron on about a medium-high heat. And I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 tablespoons of butter. Actually 4. Let's do 4 tablespoons of butter because this is a big cast iron. I'm going to melt this down. And along with melting this down, I'm going to do about an equal amount of olive oil. So say 1, 2, roughly. And this is what's going to give it the good flavor. So let's go ahead and melt this together and wait till this is all nice and toasty and sizzling before we're going to put in our potatoes. Now, a trick that you can do with your potatoes that will make them even better is if you have the ability to cut these up beforehand and then soak them, say 12 hours to overnight in salt water, that can help them crisp up as well because it's removing some of the excess starch. But if you don't have that time, you're just kind of doing this the day of, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's let this melt and get warm. You're going to want to make sure that the butter does not brown, but that it is definitely melted and that the pan is really warm. One of the things that you can do is you can always take one of your potatoes when you're ready and just put it in and see if it sizzles correctly. So I'm going to do that here in just a second. I can already feel the heat kind of coming off of this. No, it's not sizzling enough. So we're just going to give it another minute or so. And it looks like I could put maybe 2 more tablespoons of butter and a little bit more olive oil. Because again, I want that coating the bottom of the pan. And depending on how seasoned your cast iron is, it may soak up some of the oil. I use my cast irons a lot, so sometimes if I'm making something that doesn't have a lot of fat content in it, I will have to re-season it a little bit more. But see how there's a good amount of butter on here and oil. Now let's see. No, I'm gonna give it another second or so. And I'm impatient as it is. When I'm ready to put it on and put my ingredients in, that's when I kind of want to just go ahead and do it. But patience is key when it comes to your potatoes. If you put them in too soon, it's not going to turn out right. Okay, that's a fairly good indication. See how it's bubbling up around it? So let's go ahead and pour in our potatoes. I'm going to kind of just place them in. Sometimes they like to stick together, and that's okay. I just like to separate them out a little bit. And then what I'm going to do next, some people like to season them a little further in the process. I like to season them now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some garlic powder. You can always use fresh garlic if you wanted to infuse the oil first. But I just like to do a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, and I just kind of shake it on there. You can use fresh onions or fresh green peppers or anything in here if you'd like. I also, I'm going to use this side of it, like Lawry's seasoned salt. That's one of the things that kind of gives it that little extra oomph. And I don't put too much of this because I don't want it too seasoned. And it's okay because it's going to all mix in here. And if you put too much salt in, it's going to draw out the moisture, so that's not something that we're trying to do. A lot of people don't understand that, or don't know that salt draws out moisture in vegetables and meats, things of that nature. Okay. We're going to go ahead and let this sit on this side for between 3 and 5 minutes. So I'm just, for the sake of my impatience, going to set the timer to 3 minutes, and we're going to look back on this in 3 minutes. down just a little bit. And it's just under 3 minutes, but we're gonna go ahead and kind of turn our potatoes. And you can see they're already starting to brown up. I'm gonna turn off my timer. Okay, and we're gonna let it sit for about another, 3 to 5 minutes, and we're going to continue this 3 to 5 minute cooking rotation here until it turns the color that we want it to turn. I like it to be kind of a golden brown. Now, it depends on what I'm going to be using these potatoes for. These particular potatoes are going to go into a burrito, so they don't need to be ultimately super crispy. Like if I was going to be doing these for breakfast, I might throw an onion in here as well, or something, but I'm gonna want it to be more of a darker, crispier, crunchier potato. This isn't gonna matter as much. I'm just trying to get it to be flavorful. Now, if I notice here that it looks like I need a little more seasoning, which I might, I like to make sure and break any of these apart that are kind of sticking together from in the pan. If it looks like I might need a little more seasoning, I just kind of add to it some more of the onion powder, a little bit more of the garlic powder. The thing with the powders is that they typically don't have as much flavor as if you're using something fresh. See how it's starting to brown up even faster now? Because it has not been 3 to 5 minutes. Keep this going here. I'm going to just leave them alone. I have a tendency to like to flip them too much. Let's give them another few minutes here and I will come back and check on them. I'm actually going to walk away, a couple of steps away, so that I don't have an urge to, saute them or try to move them around. Let's take a little peek. Okay, these are doing good. And just keep rotating through until we get to the brown crispiness that we're looking for whatever application you're using your potatoes. And as you're doing this, you'll be able to tell they're getting cooked on the inside. Now, if you're trying to do this a little faster, another tip or trick that you can do is you can take, after your potatoes are cut up, and put them in the microwave for, 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how many potatoes you have. And when you do that, you're gonna be par cooking them, so then you just have to worry about browning them up. So you can even do these potatoes if you're kind of in a rush, or if you have all the time. Like if I'm having a big event or I know that I'm gonna be making a bunch of these, I typically cut them up the night before, put them in a big bowl of salt water, not overly salty, but salt water, and then I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then in the morning, I'll come back, get them out, and then and put them in and fry them up. This smells divine in here. Definitely a smell of breakfast. I'm gonna leave these again for just a few minutes, or a minute at least, and come back and check them. And we will come back once we're a little further along in the process. Okay, now that these have cooled off a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and place them back in our bowl. There's my timer. We're cooling them down. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then I'll meet you back at the island. That is all there is to it. It took me about 45 minutes or so to get these browned up. But yeah, so here are our potatoes. And I will be using those in another upcoming video where I'm gonna make the rest of the breakfast burritos. So hopefully you'll join me there. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.